Picture this. You worked all year, you got the raise. You didn't blow money on anything crazy. And somehow, sitting at your kitchen table on a Sunday night, staring at your banking app, the number is lower than 12 months ago. Not by a little, by thousands. You scroll through the transactions, looking for the mistake, the fraud charge, the one dumb purchase that explains it. But there is nothing unusual, just life. Just groceries and gas and the car payment and dinner on Friday. And that thing you ordered on your phone because you were too tired. Just normal. And that is exactly the problem. Everything you were taught about managing money assumed a world that quietly stopped existing. You learned that working hard and spending reasonably would keep you ahead. You learned that certain purchases were just part of being a functioning adult. A reliable car, a decent meal without cooking every single night. The occasional convenience when life gets hectic, reasonable, sensible, responsible even. Except the price tags on those responsible choices have been rewritten behind your back. And the math now works against you in ways that would have been unthinkable. Here is a number that should make your stomach drop. American households averaged $78,233 in spending last year. That figure climbed 5.1% from the year before. Wages during that same window rose 3.8%. Read that again slowly. Every year, the cost of your life outpaces your ability to pay for it. And it does so by a wider margin. You're not falling behind because you're irresponsible. You're falling behind because the gap between costs and earnings is engineered to grow. And it is growing, quietly, relentlessly. While you're busy convincing yourself, you're doing fine. But the raw spending number isn't even the part that should scare you. What should keep you up at night is where that money actually lands. A massive portion flows toward purchases that used to be perfectly rational and have since been redesigned into extraction machines. Not by accident, by strategy. Corporate pricing models evolved, subscription layers multiplied. Convenience fees got stacked on top of other convenience fees, until the original price became almost irrelevant. The economy you understood, where a dollar bought roughly a dollar's worth of value, that economy is now completely gone. What replaced it is a system where you pay $3 and receive maybe $1 of actual worth, and the other two vanish into fee structures so layered. You'd need an accounting degree to trace them. Think about the last time you ordered food through an app. That burger sitting on your counter went through a pricing gauntlet before it reached you. The restaurant marked it up 25% just to cover the platform's commission. Then the app added a delivery fee, then a service fee, then maybe a small order surcharge because you didn't spend enough. Then the tip. A $12 meal became $22, and you barely noticed because the app was designed so you wouldn't. That is an 83% markup for the privilege of not driving 10 minutes. Do that twice a week and you are bleeding $1,560 a year on a habit that feels like nothing each time it happens. Or think about that new car sitting in your driveway, the one that felt like a milestone. The moment you pulled off the lot, roughly $9,600 of its value evaporated. By the end of this year, that $48,000 vehicle will be worth somewhere between $33,000 and $36,000. You lost more than a year of rent in depreciation alone. And if you financed most of it, you're probably already underwater, owing more than the thing is worth. Locked into a loan you can't escape without writing a check. The habits that kept your parents comfortable are the same habits that are now slowly hollowing out your bank account from the inside. And the most dangerous part is how normal it all still feels. Because the traps were built to feel exactly like the reasonable choices they replaced. So before you assume your finances are fine because you're not doing anything extravagant, consider the possibility that normal itself has become the most expensive thing you can be. Start with the biggest silent drain. The average monthly payment on a new car loan hit $738 by late 2025. That is $8,856 a year, and that is before you pay for insurance, before gas, before a single oil change, just the privilege of sitting in something that loses value. The moment you signed for it. Someone who buys used with cash doesn't just save $738 a month. They recycle that capital, sell the car later for close to what they paid, move that same pool of money from vehicle to vehicle. Meanwhile, the new car buyer watches $8,856 per year evaporate into depreciation. and somehow convinces themselves it was worth it because the seats are heated. Now, take that same person. They finish their car payment calculation, feel a little stressed, and decide they deserve a nice dinner out reasonable, right? And the drinks are where it gets genuinely insulting. That $14 martini, sitting in front of you, contains about $2 worth of ingredients. The $4 soda the restaurant poured for your kid cost them approximately 15 cents. The coffee has a 2,000% markup. These aren't side items, they're the entire profit model. Food margins compress so badly that restaurants now survive almost exclusively on what you drink. You're not paying for a meal. You're subsidizing a beverage operation that happens to serve food. Factor in the 90 minutes a sit-down dinner eats from your evening, and compare it to the 30 minutes and quarter of the price it takes to make something better at home. A family dropping $200 a week on dining out, which is not unusual, bleeds $10,400 a year. $10,400 on meals they won't remember by Thursday. Then you get home from that dinner, collapse on the couch, and open one of your streaming apps. Netflix at $15.49, Hulu at $17.99, Disney Plus at $15.99, Max at $16.99, Amazon Prime Video at $8.99, Apple Television Plus at $9.99, Peacock at $7.99, Paramount Plus at $11.99. Subscribe to all of them, and you are paying over $100 a month, more than most people used to pay for cable, which is the exact thing streaming promised to save you from. According to Deloitte's 2025 Digital Media Trends Report, the average American household subscribes to 4.5 streaming services. That puts most people at $60 to $75 a month just to watch screens. And the platforms know exactly what they're doing. They fragment content deliberately. The show you started on Netflix migrates to Peacock. The movie you've been waiting for lands on a service you don't carry. The sports you want require yet another subscription. They dismantled the cable bundle, then rebuilt it piece by piece. Except now you're paying separately for every fragment. They're not competing with each other. They're collaborating against your wallet. So let us stack the receipts. The car payment alone runs $8,856. The weekly restaurant habit runs $10,400. The streaming subscriptions run $1,200. That is $20,456 a year. 3 line items on your bank statement doing more damage than you've ever bothered to calculate. And the people who actually build wealth, they already ran these numbers. That is why the millionaire drives a used Toyota. That is why the millionaire cooks at home. That is why the millionaire rotates one streaming service at a time, paying $12 to $18 a month instead of $75. Watching the same content sequentially instead of simultaneously. The math isn't ambiguous. It isn't a matter of opinion. It is $20,456 that either compounds for you or disappears into someone else's revenue report every single year. Somewhere in a corporate earnings call right now, an executive is reading a slide that describes your lunch habit as recurring revenue. Not your name, not your face. Just a line item showing that you come back 3, 4, 5 times a week and pay whatever number appears on the menu board. That is the relationship. You think you're grabbing a quick bite. They know you're a subscription that never cancels. Think about what a $13 Chipotle bowl actually represents. 5 years ago, that same bowl cost you $8. The rice didn't improve, the chicken didn't get better, nothing changed on your tray. What changed is that the company discovered you'd absorb the increase without flinching, because the habit was already wired in. A 55% price surge across the fast food industry since 2019. It didn't happen because beef got more expensive. It happened because corporations stress-tested your threshold and found out you don't have one. Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows menu prices climbed nearly 10%. In a single year, not over a decade, 1 year. And you kept showing up. Now zoom out, someone spending $3,000 to $5,000 a year on drive-through meals isn't making a food decision. They're making an ownership decision without realizing it. That money leaves your account and lands on a balance sheet, where it earns returns for shareholders. You get a bag of sodium, they get compounding equity. The original deal was supposed to be cheap convenience. Remove the cheap part, and all you are left with is a $15 container of processed ingredients you could replicate at home in 15 minutes with actual vegetables. The convenience argument collapses the moment you time it, honestly. But the habit doesn't collapse, because habits don't respond to math. They respond to repetition, and repetition is exactly what the revenue model depends on. Then there is the most emotionally fortified extraction system of all. $35,000. That is the average cost of a single American wedding. According to the most recent industry data, 6 hours, one party, and the #1 predictor of divorce, according to years of research, is financial stress. So the ceremony designed to celebrate a partnership begins by detonating the financial foundation. That partnership needs to survive. Emory University found that couples spending north of $50,000 were 46% more likely to split than those who spent under 10. The wedding industry knows this. They don't care. Every vendor charges a premium the instant the word wedding enters the conversation. The same photographer, same flowers, same venue. Double the price, triple the price, 10 times the price. You're not paying for a better experience. You're paying an emotional tax. Because the culture convinced you that love is measured in budget lines. A courthouse filing is just as legal. A backyard gathering with people who actually matter to you creates memories $5,000 floral arrangement can replicate. But if that $35,000 lands on a credit card, delays a down payment, or drains the emergency fund, then what you purchased wasn't a wedding. It was a transfer of your future security into an industry that will forget your name by Monday morning. Every one of these categories operates on the same principle. The price went up, the value stayed flat or dropped, and the difference between those two numbers didn't evaporate. It moved. It moved into quarterly earnings reports, shareholder dividends, and executive compensation packages. The question isn't whether you can afford the receipt. The question is whether you've noticed where the money actually lands once it leaves your hands, and what it starts building for someone who isn't you. Picture someone in February sitting at a kitchen table, opening a credit card statement. There is a charge from a resort they visited last July. They can barely remember the name of the restaurant attached to it. The meal is gone, the tan faded in September, but the balance is still here, still collecting interest, still demanding a minimum payment. That is the aftermath, and the only thing that could have stopped it happened months earlier, in a moment so small, it barely registers as a decision. Now apply that same logic to something even smaller. You've got Afterpay on your phone, Klarna. Whatever installment app convinced you that splitting a $50 purchase into 4 payments was doing you a favor. Here is your action, and it takes 11 seconds. Pick up your phone, go to Settings, delete the app, not disable. Because the research is already in on this. People using those services spend 10 to 40% more than they would paying the full price up front. Your brain sees 4 payments of $12.50 and files it under cheap. Your bank account sees $50 leaving in 4 separate wounds. Nearly 40% of users miss at least one payment. That is not a glitch in the system. That is the system working exactly as designed. Late fees are not a bug, they're the revenue model. So the action isn't be more careful with installment plans. The action is remove the tool entirely. You wouldn't keep a leaky faucet running. And just promise yourself you'll mop more often. You'd fix the faucet, that is fixing the faucet. One more, and this one happens in a grocery aisle. Next time, you're reaching for the name brand laundry detergent. The one that costs $13. Pick up the store brand, sitting right next to it for $7. Just once, one bottle, wash 1 load of clothes with it. That is the entire assignment. You're not committing to a lifestyle change. You're running a single experiment with a $6 price difference. Consumer Reports has already done the lab work. The generic version often rolls off the same production line. Same facility, same formula, different label. The ibuprofen in the plain white bottle is chemically identical to the one in the Advil box at twice the price. The premium you're paying doesn't buy better cleaning power or faster pain relief. It buys a 30-second television spot that convinced you it does. Households spend $5,000 to $7,000 a year on packaged goods. Switching store-wide to generics recovers $1,500. to 2,500 of that annually. But you don't have to think about the annual number right now. You just have to pick up one different bottle, one time, and see for yourself that your clothes come out exactly the same. None of these actions require willpower. They don't require a budget spreadsheet, a financial advisor, or a weekend seminar. They require about the same effort as changing a password, a new savings account with an auto transfer, a deleted app, a different bottle off the shelf. 3 moves, each one mechanical, each one slightly tedious, and each one designed to interrupt the exact moment where money quietly slides out of your control and into a system that was engineered to keep you from noticing. 30 years from now, 2 people retire from the same company on the same Friday afternoon. Same salary, same job title, same city. One of them has $250,000 more than the other. Not because of a stock tip, not because of an inheritance, not because of some side hustle that blew up on social media. The entire difference traces back to a single daily habit that one of them questioned and the other never did. That is the quietest kind of wealth destruction there is. Not a crash, not a scam. Just a $6 cup of coffee. Repeated until the math becomes irreversible. But here is what I'm not going to do right now. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that skipping lattes will make you rich. It won't. That $245,000 figure over 3 decades is real. The compound math checks out at 8% annual returns. But it assumes you actually redirect every saved dollar into an investment account and never touch it for 30 years. Most people won't do that perfectly. Life gets in the way. The furnace breaks. The car needs tires. A kid needs braces. So let's be honest about what this number actually represents. It is not a promise. It is a ceiling. The real value is somewhere below it. And that is still worth paying attention to. What matters more than the ceiling is the floor. Right now, if you're carrying 3 or 4 of the habits we've walked through in this video, you're looking at somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 a year, leaving your account for things that deliver almost no lasting return. That is not a projection. That is your bank statement. Pull it up on your phone right now if you want. Scroll through the last 90 days. Add up the subscriptions you forgot to cancel, the delivery fees that felt small in the moment, the financing charges on things that already lost half their value. That total is your leak, and the only thing I'm asking you to do with that number is look at it. That is the first move, not an overhaul, not a budget spreadsheet, not a Dave Ramsey 12-step program. Just look. Because here is the part nobody tells you. You're allowed to walk away from any of this. Every single category we covered today. You have the right to keep spending on it, genuinely. If that daily coffee run is the 20 minutes of peace that holds your morning together, keep it. If the subscription box is the one small surprise that gets you through a rough week, that is your call. The point was never to strip your life down to rice and tap water and call it financial freedom. The point is that most of this spending was never a decision you made. It was a decision that was made for you by an algorithm, by a marketing team, by a checkout screen, designed to make saying yes easier than saying no. The exit door was always there. You just couldn't see it behind the auto-renew button. So here is what a survival buffer actually looks like in practice. You pick one line item, just one. Maybe it is the streaming bundle you are paying $85 a month for, when you only watch 2 of the 6 services. Maybe it is the food delivery habit that quietly costs more than your electric bill. You cancel that one thing, or you downgrade it, or you pause it for 60 days just to see if you even miss it. That is it. That is the entire action step. One line item, one phone call, or one settings page, 5 minutes. What that buys you is not a mansion. It is not early retirement. It is breathing room. It is the difference between overdrafting on the 28th and making it to payday clean. It is the $40 or $60 that sits in your account long enough to become a choice instead of a reflex. And choices compound in ways that go beyond interest rates. Once you see one number clearly, you start seeing the others. Once you cancel one thing consciously, the next cancellation feels less like deprivation and more like control. Nobody is coming to rescue your finances. No single video, including this one, is going to flip a switch and make the math work overnight. But the math doesn't need a miracle. It needs you to stop looking away. The economy in 2026 is built to keep you spending on autopilot. And the only thing standing between that system and your bank account is whether you decide to run the numbers yourself.